In my previous life, Jason chose to fake his death to play the true love game. He lived a harmonious and happy life with his true love, while I diligently managed the Zhao family's business. In the end, due to overwork and overwhelming longing, I became terminally ill with little time left. However, upon hearing the news, he returned only to wait for me to close my eyes, so he could marry his true love with the world's most luxurious wedding. I vomited blood and died, unable to rest in peace. Reborn, I no longer wanted to be a part of their love game. I chose to inherit Jason's business empire with tears in my eyes. Since the scumbag was dead, there was no need for him to come back. Promotion, wealth, and the death of a husband, the three great joys. I finally encountered them. Just like in my previous life, while I was working overtime negotiating projects for the Zhao Group, I received news of my husband's death. His two childhood friends told me with sorrowful expressions, "Sister-in-law, please accept our condolences. Jason had an accident while bungee jumping, he fell to the bottom of the mountain. We searched for him for a day but couldn't find him, it's likely he's met with misfortune." My husband Jason and I had a typical arranged marriage between families of equal status. He was known as the crown prince of the Beijing circle. Anyone with eyes could see that the Shen family had been declining year after year. Although I, Selina, am the daughter of the Shen family, with a stepmother came a stepfather, and my relationship with the Shen family is poor. So Edward wasn't afraid that I would siphon off the in-laws' assets to my natal family. Unlike Jason, who had no talent in business, I inherited some business acumen from my parents. So Edward chose me to marry his precious grandson, hoping I could support the Zhao family for Jason. At first, Jason was indifferent to me, but later he seemed to like me and became a wife-doting maniac in the media. Upon hearing the news of Jason's death, I pretended to be devastated and asked, "What did you say? Jason is dead? And it happened while bungee jumping?" One of the childhood friends, Henry, cautiously said, "The search and rescue team looked at the bottom of the mountain for a day and a night but never found Jason's trace. The captain said it's possible that wild animals carried him away." Upon hearing this, I instantly broke down and cried, tears flowing like they cost nothing. "I don't believe it, he promised to celebrate our golden wedding anniversary decades from now. We loved each other so much, how could we suddenly be separated by heaven and earth?" The two men were at a loss seeing me cry. Leo spoke to comfort me, "Sister-in-law, Jason is gone, you have to pull yourself together and manage the family business for him. Besides, if his spirit is in heaven, he definitely wouldn't want to see you so sad." I acted unreasonably and shouted at them, "He often played extreme sports, free solo climbing, alpine skiing, aerial surfing, bungee jumping, which one wasn't he the best at? Now you're telling me he died from bungee jumping, I don't believe it." Henry handed me the wedding ring Jason had removed before bungee jumping. Avoiding my eyes, he said, "Jason's last wish must be for the Zhao Group to develop well. I believe, since you love him so much, you'll manage the company for him." I shook my head vigorously and cried, "Have the search team keep looking. If not found in one day, search for 10 days, a month, even a year, I can afford it. I'll pay them whatever it takes to continue. Jason promised to celebrate my birthday with me, he can't go back on his word." Leo said sympathetically, "We know you can't accept it right away, but that's the fact, you have to learn to accept it." Jason's lawyer calmly told me, "Mr. Jason had a will before his death, if any accident occurred, all his property would be inherited by Ms. Selina." I took Jason's asset documents, flipped through them, pretended I couldn't accept it, and pushed the door open to run away. Otherwise, I was afraid I couldn't hold back my laughter. Back at my billion-dollar villa, I lay on the 2-meter-wide bed, rolling around in joy. Edward had passed away a year ago, no one could compete with me for the inheritance. The Zhao family's billions would all be mine. It wasn't in vain that after rebirth, I acted out the deep affection play with the scumbag for so long. Looking at the wealth I was about to inherit, I laughed like a pig snorting. As for Jason, this dead scumbag, since he liked faking death so much, let him truly die. In my previous life, 3 years after marrying Jason, he met his so-called true love. To pursue her and prove the loyalty of their feelings, He chose to fake his death and hide his identity. But he couldn't let go of everything in the Zhao family, so he targeted me. He began pretending to gradually like me, until he was deeply in love, becoming the famous wife-doting maniac in the media. I was gradually moved and fell deeply in love with him. At that time, I even teased Jason that we were trendy with our marriage first, love later. He smiled and touched my hair after hearing that. But I didn't notice the mockery in his eyes. After his death, despite suitors, I didn't remarry. I stayed in the Zhao family to manage the business for him, and finally collapsed from exhaustion, with little time left. Upon learning this, he returned high profile with his true love Luna and son Andy. He had people prepare the world's most luxurious wedding, waiting only for me to close my eyes on the hospital bed to legitimately give Luna a wedding. Hearing this on my sickbed, I vomited blood and died, unable to rest in peace. After rebirth, I was no longer love-brained. Facing Jason's affection, I used all my acting skills to pretend I was deeply moved. My efforts weren't in vain, he firmly believed I loved him dearly. My love for him was enough to make me manage everything after his death, so he could enjoy the fruits upon return. So in outsiders' eyes, we were a golden couple, a match made in heaven. No one could imagine that this young couple was scheming against each other. I wholeheartedly managed company affairs for Jason, letting him continue his second-generation rich life. Every second with him, I chanted in my heart, "Inheritance, I want the inheritance." After his fake death, the Zhao family's business empire and billions would all be mine. Heaven rewards the diligent. I've finally waited for this day. Immense wealth, here I come. 5 days later, I held a grand funeral for Jason. I immediately processed his death certificate and deregistered his household. From now on, Jason, the heir to the Zhao Group, was just a certified dead person. This time, I personally handled Jason's funeral, not leaving it to his 2 childhood friends. They hesitated at first. Henry advised, "Don't force yourself. Leo and I are Jason's longtime brothers, leave the funeral to us. Rest well, you'll be busy with the group later." I said with a grief-stricken heart, "I want to personally see him off on his last journey. He loved me so much, he must hope I accompany him to the end. Don't you think so?" The two looked at each other, probably thinking how to refuse reasonably. As Jason's childhood friends, they knew his fake death plan well and helped him act in front of me throughout. In my previous life, overwhelmed by grief, I left the funeral to them. It was secretive and simple. Jason's death wasn't widely publicized by media, which didn't fit his Beijing crown prince status. But how could I notice those tricks back then? In this life, I want to give him a funeral so grand it's known worldwide, to avenge his schemes. Leo took a breath and said, "Sister-in-law, it's not that we refuse. Jason definitely wouldn't want you to worry about his funeral while grieving. He'd feel heartbroken for you." I inwardly admired his ability to lie with a straight face. On the surface, I was full of grief. He handled our wedding single-handedly. From beginning to end, I'll personally handle his funeral. He was deeply affectionate to me, I must repay him. Don't persuade me, my mind is set. If you insist, I'll have to suspect your intentions. Seeing me speak so seriously, they finally nodded in agreement. In my heart, I was happy like a groundhog squealing. This immense wealth would soon be mine. I contacted major media to spread the news of the Beijing crown prince's accidental death. The news quickly topped the hot search list. Most of the country knew about it. On the funeral day, the attending Beijing elites watched me cry uncontrollably, while outside reporters' flashes kept going. After the ceremony, as I exited, I was surrounded by media, their microphones thrust to my mouth. "Selina, as Jason's wife, do you think there's something suspicious about his death?" That's right, after all, Jason started extreme sports in his teens and was a seasoned player. How could he suddenly die in an accident? I heard the search team didn't find his body. How can we confirm he's dead? Their questions came one after another. Good, ask more. I saw Leo and Henry sweating on their foreheads, and I laughed inwardly. But on the surface, I was just a poor woman who had lost her husband and backbone. The reporters' tricky questions made me dizzy and forced me to retreat step by step. How could I answer these questions? After all, I was also the poor widow notified of her husband's death. So, Leo and Henry, the two childhood friends, stepped up to respond. That's right, good brothers help each other. Their personal confirmation is better than my explanation. Leo took the microphone and said, "All right, Henry and I were at the scene and saw him accidentally fall during bungee jumping. Many others present saw it too." Henry continued, "We had the search team look several times but didn't find Jason. He was likely taken by wild animals. In this mishap, the saddest is Jason's wife, Miss Selina. Please give her some space, media friends, don't press her." The reporters stopped dwelling on Jason's death and turned to the Zhao Group's development. After Jason's death, where will the Zhao Group go? Miss Selina, what are your plans? The Zhao Group's PR director took this question. No need to worry. Previously, Selina led us in our efforts, and in the future, she'll continue leading the company. Under her leadership, the group will only get better. They spoke, and I nodded frequently in agreement. Afterward, I watched these interview clips repeatedly and saved them. These meant Jason was history. Next, the Zhao Group was my world. With Jason's pre-death will, I smoothly inherited his family's business empire. At this time, I had the leisure to check on Jason's status. I hired a professional private investigator at a high price to monitor Jason around the clock. Jason wanted to play the true love game. He could have divorced me first and then pursued Luna. But he didn't. Instead, he pretended to be so affectionate that I couldn't help falling in love and working desperately for him. I won't let him be smug again. Looking at the materials from the private investigator, I couldn't help but sneer. Jason pretended to faint near Luna's home, was rescued by Luna, then faked amnesia, successfully staying with the Liu family. He is now pursuing Luna. Admittedly, his handsome face, comparable to any celebrity, makes him invincible in romance. In my last life, I couldn't escape his tender offensive. Now, Luna naturally falls for him uncontrollably. Luna lives in the countryside where the internet is unstable, so Jason doesn't check news on his phone much. Thus, he doesn't know he's already a dead man in everyone's eyes. Even the title of Beijing Crown Prince has been taken by someone else. In my previous life, Jason thought Luna loved him when he was penniless, believing it was true love. But I didn't think so. After all, Luna and Jason weren't meeting for the first time. At that time, Jason and I went with friends to a rural agri-tainment spot. In the countryside, we met Luna, who was working there to supplement her income. After casual chat, she casually said, "If I like someone, as long as he's good to me, whether he has money or not, I'll be with him." Miss Selina, you're so lucky to have such an excellent partner as Mr. Jason. If I had someone like that, I'd be willing to eat chaff and swallow vegetables with him. She blushed and glanced at Jason, and that glance entered Jason's heart. When I was reborn, they had already met. I wanted to know how they developed, so I specifically investigated. After returning from the agri-tainment, Jason had his assistant check Luna's information. He found Luna was poor but ambitious, kind-hearted, optimistic, not at all a gold digger who despises the poor and loves the rich. For someone like him, born with a silver spoon, where parents only provided money but rarely companionship, Luna's appeal was undoubtedly huge. Jason wasn't very satisfied with me, his arranged wife, and began thinking how to kick me out without affecting the company's development, while getting the beauty. In the end, his approach was the same as in the previous life. Jason started on me. He began pretending to like me, and I tried to cooperate with his affectionate act. Our feelings seemed to deepen gradually until we were in love. Jason also became a wife-doting maniac, with media often reporting him splurging on his wife. When the time was ripe, thinking I was completely in love and couldn't leave him, he faked death and pursued true love as a penniless man. After all, in his view, with my love for him, I'd surely guard the Zhao family for him. However, after rebirth, in my eyes, he was already a greasy, disgusting stinking man. No matter how he peacocked in front of me, I remained unmoved. My feelings for him were exhausted when he implemented his vicious plan. So, when Jason booked that bungee jumping project again, my mood was extremely excited. I was about to inherit his billions. How could I stay calm? From the various photos and the materials, Jason and Luna got along well, with sparks of love faintly emerging. Luna took good care of the amnesiac Jason, which made him think she was a good girl not coveting wealth. I couldn't help but sigh at Jason's good fortune. Before me, his grandfather and parents provided him a worry-free affluent life. After his relatives passed away one by one, I, his wife, managed the company for him, allowing him to carefree be the overbearing CEO. Now by Luna's side, she treated him gently and attentively, without him doing any chores, truly the life of a young master. Not long after, I received news that they had become lovers. Jason's sweet talk skills were self-taught. He promised Luna, although I've lost my memory, even if I recover it later, my love for you will never change. Knowing they were in the honeymoon phase, I temporarily set them aside. Because now that I've inherited the entire Zhao family, my scumbag dad and stepmom at home were salivating over it. My dad repeatedly called me home for dinner. To end it once and for all, I made time to go back. At the table, my dad acted like a doting father, concernedly saying, "Selina, eat more. You've been working hard these days. Dad knows Jason's passing hurts you the most. It's okay, you still have Dad to rely on." Whether he could be relied on, I've seen clearly over the years. After Mom's death and his remarriage, that home was no longer mine. Now, besides money that won't betray me, what else can I trust? Seeing me just eating and drinking without responding, my dad wasn't embarrassed and continued, "The Zhao family is vast. If you can't manage it all, Dad can help share some burden. Also, your brother likes you as his sister. He's working in the company now, you can take him out to see the world. Your siblings, you'll need to support each other in the future." I looked up at him and said, "Thanks, Dad. Managing the Zhao industries is hard, but I enjoy it, no need to trouble you. As for others, I don't have the patience to play along. Warm family dramas have never involved me, right?" Stepmom Martha discontentedly said, "Your husband is dead, and you have no children. What can you rely on in the future if not your own family? We've raised you for over 20 years, wanting a share isn't excessive, is it?" I gave her a cold look. This woman's eyes were full of ambition. This was the first time after my marriage she personally asked for benefits. Usually, she instigated my dad to ask me. Unfortunately, I never agreed once. I coldly said, "The principle of relying on oneself rather than others was learned at home. I'll say it plainly, the Zhao industries have no share for you, don't dream." My dad got anxious. "Child, why draw lines so clearly? That's elders' matters, it has nothing to do with your brother. You should at least promote him, right?" I retorted, "No, my mom only had me as a daughter, so what brother? I don't recognize him. The family business passes to males not females. After your son graduated, you put him in management. Without grassroots experience, he doesn't know how to manage, causing many losses. Isn't it that you want me to back him up? That's why you're nicely talking feelings with this daughter. But Dad, why don't you think if you deserve it?" My dad threw down his chopsticks, face dark. "Now your wings are hardened, daring to talk to me like this." I smiled, "Don't get angry, there'll be more to anger you later. I'm full and leaving first, enjoy." Then, I put down my chopsticks and left. My dad cursed me as an unfilial daughter behind me. I couldn't help but sneer, he really couldn't see the situation. My parents' story summed up, a beautiful rich woman devoured by a phoenix man. My mom couldn't take the blow, died depressed, leaving me to suffer grievances in that home for years. Now I finally have the ability to seek justice for her. It's getting cold, time for Shen Corp to go bankrupt. It seems that love full of setbacks is truly unforgettable. Jason is now facing a two-man one-woman situation. Luna has another suitor named Eric. Eric's family runs a resort in Luna's hometown. He's a rich second generation, big or small. In the past, Jason wouldn't look at his background. But now, he's an amnesiac, penniless, 7-foot man relying on Luna. There's no comparison. Before Eric appeared, Jason's pursuit of Luna was just sweet words, no money spent. He thought feelings tainted by money weren't sincere love. In their daily life, when Luna did housework, Jason sat aside watching, praising her as a virtuous woman. The man who marries her will be blessed. After work, Luna had to drag her tired body to clean the mess Jason left all day. Jason, accustomed to luxury, wouldn't even ride a fallen oil bottle, so Luna served him. Jason wanted to test true love, thinking these were his trials. After Eric appeared, things changed. Luna experienced true pursuit attention. Eric sent flowers, gifts. When Luna was tired, he'd thoughtfully say, you rest, drink water. I bought you food, eat something first, don't go hungry. It's hard to comment. With comparison, Jason's pursuit seemed inadequate. Luna seemed annoyed with daily serving Jason, who just watched her busy without helping. She took initiative, showed Jason his photo to awaken his memory, so he could return to Zhao home, live in a mansion, and enjoy good days. Jason stiffened, pretended headache, couldn't remember. In fact, he probably wanted to return to Zhao home as Beijing crown prince more than anyone. In the previous life, he saved money on a secret card beforehand. During fake death, he withdrew when needed, living comfortably. Moreover, I collapsed in the 4th year after his fake death. After my death, he smoothly took over everything I left. At that time, I had just negotiated a big project with the government, ensuring Zhao Group's prosperity for 20 years. So he and Luna reaped the benefits. He didn't need much effort, continuing his young master ways. In this life, I processed his death certificate, all money under his name transferred to me. So he was truly penniless. He had to find his 2 childhood friends. From the private investigator's files, Jason consulted Henry and Leo about returning to Zhao home. This was much earlier than in the previous life. Back then, he lived comfortably outside, not rushing back. In this life, experiencing true penniless days, he finally understood money's importance. Everyday life of necessities also can't do without money. I heard their conversation recording. Jason said, Luna passed my test, she and I are true love. I plan to bring her back to Zhao home. As for Selina, I'll divorce her and give her a substantial sum. I really thank you. You contributed nothing to Zhao Group, all supported by me, yet upon return, you want to kick me out. Jason's heart is truly ruthless. Henry said, Jason, this is tricky. You don't know, the whole internet thinks you're dead. Also, sister-in-law processed your death certificate, you've been deregistered. Jason anxiously said, what? How could you let her do that? Leo smiled bitterly, we told her we'd handle your affairs. But as your wife, she wanted to accompany you to the end, we had no standing to refuse. Henry added, who knew she acted so fast? By the time we knew, your death certificate was done. Recently, I'm negotiating cooperation with Leo's dad's company. Leo is learning alongside. Then, he said to Jason, since you no longer exist in the world, just stay with Luna. Anyway, you're pursuing true love. True love conquers all. With love, even drinking water satiates. Jason couldn't believe his childhood friends betrayed him and scolded them. Finally, Henry stopped speaking for him. I remember recently the Jing family had business problems. I introduced deals to help them through. Soft-mouthed from eating, short-handed from taking, Henry completely stood against Jason. Jason's 2 childhood friends didn't approve his return. After all, after I took over, I cared for their families' businesses. They couldn't bear losing this favorable development. This is great. Jason lost status, penniless, lost friends, became isolated. So relieving. As for the Shen family, my dad kept calling me these days, even wanting to come to the company. Today, he finally barged in front of me. His eyes red, looking haggard. Hunched, he pleadingly said, Selina, help Dad, the company's capital chain broke. Without new funds, it'll go bankrupt. This is Dad's life's work, I can't watch it go to waste. I shook my head, Dad, you're at retirement age, just retire. His eyes lit up like grasping a lifeline, eagerly, Selina, why not fund to acquire Shen Corp? rather than benefiting others, Dad prefers you acquire it. Just give Dad some Zhao shares. My dad spoke excitedly, expression fanatic, seeming to imagine becoming Zhao Group shareholder after I agree. If Mom saw this greedy look earlier, she wouldn't have been deceived to death. I said coldly, don't think I don't know, this is your good son's doing. Bankrupt if bankrupt, I'll pay alimony on time later, forget the rest. My dad persuaded, how about this, later, Dad's will include your name, but what goes to your brother won't surpass yours. I shook my head, laughing, Dad, keep your scraps for your precious son. What's bankruptcy? Didn't Mom watch her maternal family devoured by you? This is what she experienced, you must too. He pointed shocked, what? Did you make the company like this? I replied, this is retribution for abandoning your first wife and ignoring me for years. Actually, you're better off than Mom, she faced her husband's infidelity. He suddenly shouted, Selina, I'm your dad. No parents are wrong, even if I wronged you, you can't be so rebellious. I had him escorted out. After Shen family bankruptcy, they moved to a 3-bedroom small house. My dad, middle-aged, had to re-enter the job market. He took shortcuts young, marrying rich, saving 20 years struggle, now it's payback. On Jason's side, Leo, for years of brotherhood, couldn't help but give him a 500,000 card from his own pocket. By Jason's past spending, it might not last a day. But per Leo, Jason disliked money tainting his love, and Luna was a self-reliant girl with backbone, so this money was enough for a good life. Jason used the money to build a house for Luna's family in the countryside. They discussed marriage. In Luna's hometown, marriage wasn't formal, no household book needed, just village registration. Otherwise, amnesiac Jason couldn't produce ID. Good thing it had no legal effect, otherwise, bigamy would trouble him. Soon, Jason's money ran out, he asked Leo for more. Since their last talk fell apart, Jason resented these two friends. Before implementing the fake death plan, he discussed with these two, they padded chests guaranteeing to fool me. Result, now he can't return home, no spending freedom. Jason was dissatisfied, thinking they didn't persuade me well, making things irreversible. Otherwise, he'd be back as Beijing crown prince. I knew Jason hadn't given up, such a huge family business, no fool would let go easily. He was too trusting, thinking I loved him hopelessly and would guard Zhao Group for him. When he returns with the beauty, I'd have elevated the company, then he could kick me out and enjoy. Unfortunately, now I'm Nuhulu Selina, here to avenge the previous life's betrayed true heart. To prevent Jason's comeback, I had the investigator monitor him more closely. Good I was vigilant, Jason, to reclaim property, was unscrupulous. He got another $1 million from Leo, not for himself, but to hire a killer to kill me, the wife blocking his wealth. His vicious look chilled me. Since he wants my life, let him die first. I invited Leo and Henry for tea. After 10 minutes, I didn't say why. Leo couldn't sit still, cautiously asked, Sister-in-law, what do you want with us? I set down the teacup, smiling insincerely, are you two hiding something from me? Henry pretended confusion, why ask that? I said, for example, how is Jason now? Their expressions changed instantly. Leo stammered, Jason, isn't he dead? Why mention him? I smiled desolately, still not telling the truth? Leo avoided my eyes, said, sorry. Henry took a deep breath, sister-in-law, sorry. We shouldn't have helped Jason deceive you. He's alive, with his true love Luna. My tears fell instantly. I knew my feeling was right, he's alive. But does he hate me so much? Faking death to leave me, just to be with that woman. Henry comforted, sister-in-law, don't be sad. He has no place for you in his heart, preferring to abandon everything for another, you should plan for yourself. Look, since you took full charge of Zhao, it's developed so well. You should walk your path, let the blind regret. I was a bit surprised, Henry and Jason's brotherhood wasn't that sincere. Thinking carefully, Jason dominated since childhood, relying on family background, everyone gave him face. His friends approached him how much for feelings, how much for family development who knows. Now, I handle major company decisions. For interests, I cooperated on a big project with Xing and Lu families. Henry and Leo knew if cooperation failed because of them, they'd have no place in their families. So choosing to surrender to me is understandable. I asked them to arrange a meeting with Jason. I want to cut ties. I said sadly, actually, I got news someone wants to hire a killer to kill me. That person is Jason. They glanced at each other and agreed fully. Finally, they set the meeting with Jason on a yacht. These rich kids love sea outings. Jason's death date arrived. I'll see him off last. Jason enjoyed the sea breeze after a long time, contentedly sipping red wine. He sighed. This is the life he should live. I clapped. Jason, long time no see. Not doing well lately? Haven't enjoyed this young master luxury life for a while? Jason startled. How is it you? Henry and Leo invited me. Why you? They betrayed me? I laughed. Jason, don't blame others. Because you're not a good person yourself. Jason declared war. Selina, did you know my plan early, so you cut off my retreat completely? I tell you, I'm returning to Zhao, taking back everything. I nodded, but in public eyes, you're already dead. Even if you go back, there's no place for you. Jason furious, didn't you love me much? Why scheme against me like this? I coldly replied, you were heartless first, I can only be unrighteous. Don't be angry, Zhao Group is forever Zhao's, unlike my dad and me. But Zhao is my Selina's territory, not yours. Jason. Jason gulped wine, gritted, don't be smug long, careful having money but no life to spend. He could only say ruthless words, he might not leave here today. I gave him a deep last look, he alone on the yacht drowned sorrows in wine, drunk, leaning on the railing. After I turned to leave, I heard a heavy object falling into water behind. I didn't look back, not worth my softening. Back at the villa, I relaxed. Henry and Leo didn't disappoint, for their family's futures, they sacrificed brotherhood with Jason to show goodwill to me. They feared Jason's return, taking back everything more than I. After all, their incompetence would make Jason target them. And I raised their family influence a lot. The yacht's railing was tampered with. As former good brothers, they knew Jason's habits well. So Jason leaning on the railing drunk to blow sea breeze was anticipated. From then, Jason was truly dead. As for Luna, she waited at home left and right, Jason never returned. She secretly probed near Zhao Group, heard no news of Jason returning. Disappointed, she returned alone. She accepted the rich second-generation Eric who pursued her before. But after a few years of marriage, he cheated, forcing her out penniless. She returned to the countryside alone. Her situation contrasted greatly with the previous life's money-piled noblewoman. As for me, my career is thriving now. Under my lead, Zhao Group is flourishing. My future holds infinite glory. I've completely bid farewell to the suffering Selina of the previous life. Promotion, wealth, dead husband, this immense fortune has finally arrived. Sunshine bright, my future luminous, my blessings are yet to come.